This week on Outdoor Oklahoma, the first deer hunt for an 8-year-old boy is a special memory a father will never forget. Then we learn the easy process of making a European mount to showcase your hunt for years to come. Right now on Outdoor Oklahoma. Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. Taxidermy like this are literally works of art, but sometimes for various reasons like cost or space, a hunter may choose to go a different route. And today, we're going to teach you step by step how you can do your own European mounts. But first, we follow along with an 8-year-old boy on his very first deer hunt, and we're reminded of the special memories that are made when you choose to pass on your hunting heritage to the next generation.
My name is Brad Austin. I've been into pretty much whitetail hunting since I was about 17 years old. I would guess I'd say I've been pretty lucky. I've got a pretty good collection on the wall, but my oldest son, Dayton, has been on me for a couple years. And so he was finally old enough that I could keep his attention span for longer than about an hour. So we actually took him on a couple turkey hunts just to see how he would handle sitting and being still and being quiet and having no cell phone. So after a couple successful runs with that, we decided it was ready for him to try his first youth hunt this year. We did a lot of practicing, so we started him up close. He shot 25 yards. I went to the extent on the anatomy side of things of letting him shoot an actual old 3D archery target, and with a small steel plate on it just to show the vitals. That got him used to seeing a deer in a scope, to see what does it look like, what about this angle, what about that angle, and just let him shoot. And then we moved him to 50, we moved him to 75, we moved him 100. We knew about the distance he was going to be hunting out of the blind. Oh, the fun thing about it, we've always had a camper that we'd have it leave at camp, but Mom and Dad are getting into it, so they actually brought their RV. When you get the whole family involved and stuff like that, it makes it even that much more better.
What are we about to do?
We're gonna go hunting today.
So this is your very first deer hunt? Show me your hat. Can you read it to me?
First deer hunt 2018. Dayton. It's man up.
Is she a deer hunter too?
Yes.
I'm thrilled to get to be with you on your first hunt.
I'd actually made the ground blind out of some cattle panels and T-posts and brushed it in with mesquite. It was large enough for 4 people to sit in there. I'd even taken him during the summertime and practiced out of this blind. So when we walk in the morning, he knows what to wear. It's nothing new as soon as the sun comes up. So he'd actually had practiced out of the blind. It didn't take long before the does started coming in and such like that. And we had a couple little bucks on him that we were really wanting him to take. and with most kids, you know, with no attention span, I took stuff like notebook papers and crayons and markers, maybe a board game, something not electronic. You know, at times we were sitting in the blind and he was tired of writing on paper, and he's like, I want to do something. I was like, color on the blind. So now I have murals all in my tower blind from Dayton. So he colored on the walls for 2 hours, and every time I go sit in the blind, I get to see that. Luckily enough, we had one of the oddball spikes come in, so that was one of his hit list deer. I think he probably was the first one to see it walk in from the side, so he was all about it. Daddy, 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 and then trying to hold him down and keep him from moving in my lap, and helping him steady himself and not get excited. But he, you know, it didn't take long. The buck came in, kind of pushed the does out like they always do, and he was ready to shoot. So it was a lot of fun. He didn't want to waste any time, that's for sure. Dayton made a not so favorable shot. We knew it was a liver shot. The deer hunched up and, you know, slowly made his way through and out. He wasn't in a great position for another shot. We packed up and got out of there as soon as we lost visual of him. And then with the new rules with the tracking dogs, we actually made a phone call and let them know what was going on, and they were in full force. It didn't take them long at all to find it. I mean, we knew kind of where the deer was going, and we were right. But, you know, why not use a dog? This is a new law, and let's take advantage of it. Not worry about jumping a deer and running one off, and it worked out great. And it was interesting to watch the dogs, and I actually am training my own tracking dog now. So just because, why not? Why, if it's legal, then take advantage of it and use it.
Look,
Get him?
one, a little horn and a big horn.
Yeah. Little spike. Good job. High five. Good job. You gonna drag him back to the truck?
No, you.
I get to.
Well, I want somebody to both.
You want some help? Well, I'll get the big horn, you get the little horn.
No.
No, you get the big one.
Hey.
He's helping. You ready?
That's his reward, bud.
Yep, that's his reward. Alright.
He's a very big deer.
The dog's helping us. Almost there when we get the Land Rover. When Dayton was born, I had something that I wanted to do. And I was kind of leery to ask the doctors because I didn't want them to think that I was too redneck. But I actually have some really cool knives that I hunted with and I'd had for quite a while, and I wanted to actually cut his umbilical cord with it. And I was kind of hesitant with the doctor, but then she turned around and said, well, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. So that's the cool thing about it is I had that knife and I put it away for 8 years in the safe. And when he killed his first deer, he got to help try and get this deer with the knife that I used when he was born and gave him to him, cutting his umbilical cord. I think it's important for them to learn what the outdoors are about. Whether they decide, hey, this is what I want to do or not, you know, they have to have some knowledge of it and you can't force them into it, and you just hope that they're going to take it and run with it. And Dayton's done that. I mean, it's nonstop. Every time we go to the property and fill feeders or check cameras, are we going to hunt? Do we get to shoot? Do we get to do that? No, Dayton. When's deer season? Oh, this date, this date, this date. That's right. I never really forced him into it, but he saw, where are you going? You brought this deer back. Where are you going? What did you do? And when they show that interest, that's the best time to start, and just take them and just go. So they're never going to sit still. They're never going to be quiet. I've tried paper and crayons, board games, little stuff, and you're going to make noise. It's hard for us that are so used to making no noise for 5 hours at a time to sit back and let them learn. So that's the hard part on the dad's side, is trying not to be too critical.
I'll never forget my first hunt with my dad. It was bitter cold and we didn't even see a deer, but that single experience helped me to forge a lifelong passion for the outdoors. Up next, mounts like these are no doubt beautiful, but a European mount does have its advantages. They take up far less space, cost practically nothing to do, can be done easily in an afternoon, and provide a lot of opportunity for creatively displaying them. And wildlife biologist Josh Richardson is going to show us step by step just how easy it is to make a mount like this that you'll be proud to show off for years to come.
If you're like me, you like to save mementos from your hunts. So I've got many tail fans and beards from turkey hunts around my house. When it comes to deer hunts, an easy thing I like to do is a European mount, or a Euro or skull mount as some people call them. What do we mean by a Euro mount? Well, we've got a couple examples here in front of us today. A European mount is basically a skull that's been cleaned, deodorized, washed, made sure it's free of any odor-causing material, so that when you display it, it'll be a nice either bone color or white in your house. But how do you get a deer that you've shot out in the field to look like this? We have several examples here from a deer that's just come in from the field, still has hide on. You skin a deer out, you get the skull to where it's just bone and a little bit of material left on there. And then what I like to do for the ease and the timeliness of it is to boil a skull. Well, how do you boil a skull? You don't stick it in a pot on the stove. I like to use turkey fryers, outdoor burners, some sort of propane burner. We've got a couple examples here. A double burner, a single burner, whatever you have handy or available. Pots, again, use what you have available. Little tip, if you steal your wife's, get her a pot for Christmas. She probably won't want to use it again for your cooking. So, we'll prepare our water here to get ready and boil this skull. This skull I've already got skinned out, everything's ready to go. We'll get our water ready and get this boil started. So here we are, ready to put this skull in and get it started boiling, but I don't use just plain water. There's a little bit of science to it, but just a lot of art. I like to add two things to the water. First off, I like to add some liquid dish soap. You're looking for the grease cutting effect of the soap. Again, I just put a squirt in there, no real pre-measured amount. That's going to help kind of keep that bone washed clean, help get all that grease to actually rise to the surface instead of being baked into the bone. And then the other thing I add is either some borax or washing soda, sal soda, sodium carbonate, whatever you want to call it. One or the other, it doesn't have to be some of both. Again, I just kind of make a guess at it. With a 5-gallon bucket, I'll usually do about an 8-ounce cup. But here I'm just going to sprinkle some in. and then we'll go ahead and get our cooker fired up here. All right, we've got it fired up. Before we stick the skull in, I'm going to try to just take a little stick here, stir around, make sure that wash soda is mostly dissolved in that water. The washing soda or the borax kind of just helps actually break down that meat faster, the proteins in that meat. You can do it without, but it takes longer to boil. With the wash soda in there, that meat will come off a lot quicker. I'm going to move this pot down out of the way. And we'll go ahead and stick in the skull. Like I say, you can use whatever pot you have available. I like this size. It's just big enough to fit a deer skull in lengthwise, narrow enough to kind of help hold the antlers up out of the water. I had it about half full, and what I want to do now is just add enough water that it covers over the top of the skull without getting too much onto the antlers. We'll watch that as it's boiling. When we get it up to a boil, I'll cut down the heat so that it's more a simmer, and then as it's going through, I'll keep an eye on it as well to make sure that water level doesn't get down below the top of the skull. If it does, just add a little bit more. Otherwise, we're good to go. While this one's working on boiling here, we're going to get to work on skinning out and preparing a couple others. This deer was harvested a few days back. It was put in the freezer. That's a good way to store your deer if you're not going to be able to get to it right away. My most preferred way to do it is right after I've harvested a deer to go ahead and skin the whole thing out. If I'm not going to be able to boil it, then I can go ahead and stick it in the freezer. But trying to get that skinning done right away is helpful. Second best way is to go ahead and stick the whole thing in a freezer about 12 to 18 hours before you're going to start working on it. Pull it out, let it start thawing. That way you can start working the skin around on that. So to get a deer from this condition to ready to go in the water, it's fairly simple. I use two tools. You can use a knife. I use about a 6-inch boning knife, but if you've got a scalpel or a caping knife or whatever you have handy, I like this. It's got a little bit of flex to the blade. I can work it around without getting too much trouble there. And then a screwdriver. The screwdriver comes in handy mainly around the base of the antlers. The skin is held very tight right there. There's not much meat underneath it, and it's all solid bone. So having something, a nice flat screwdriver or a small pry bar, something you can get in there, work under the skin, and just pry it out around the bases of those antlers. And then a pair of gloves, again, keeping yourself clean and just normal safety measures in there. Okay, we've had this skull in here for close to 3 hours here now. We're gonna pull it out and check real quick. Now, obviously this has been in boiling or simmering water for quite a while, so it's gonna be kind of hot, so watch your fingers on that. Throw on a glove here. So you can see this stuff is ready to just scrape right off of there, so I think we're good here. I like doing bottom jaws. Like I said before, it gives you something to look at for age of the deer, kind of helps remember and helps memorialize that deer. But when you're doing the bottom jaw, one thing to remember, take into account, we're going to take this outside and clean it, and these front teeth come off really easy. So what we're going to do is, instead of having to try to dig through the dirt outside and find teeth in the ground, we're just going to take a set of pliers here real quick and pull these. We'll clean them up, and then you actually just use some wood glue later and paste them back in there, and you can't tell the difference. So there should be 8 teeth, 4 per side. We'll just kind of set those over to the side and get them later. Like I said, that should clean up real nice in there. Get this skull out. Ooh. Got that hard palate. When you see that coming off, it's definitely good and ready. We'll kill our fire here. We'll take it outside, clean it up here. I like to use a pressure washer, really get it clean. Before we head outside, one thing I'm going to try to do though is pull out this cartilage from the nose. It's all loose in there. We need to get that out. A lot of people, if you take it to a professional, or even some people just doing it themselves, they like to try to take a screwdriver and run a screwdriver up in there and just hollow out that entire nasal cavity. Personally, I like trying to leave it all in place. There's some really neat bone structure in there. Deer have a kind of cone of these really thin wafer-like bones right in that nose. It's what helps give them their olfactory power, the ability to smell stuff around them. So I like trying to leave that in place. Well, that was a little bit dirty, but we got it all pretty much taken care of. You can see it looks nice here now. Places to really watch out for: here at the base of the antlers, you'll get some cartilage or just some skin pieces left over right in there. Make sure and get those off. And then this whole area down in here, there's so many cracks and crevices. You really got to work around that pretty good. But I think we got it looking good. Just finishing up, polishing up some of these teeth here. So from this point, you've got a few options. Personally, I like just the natural bone color, and I've left most of mine just like this, let them air dry for a few hours or overnight, and pretty much be ready to go from there. These bottom jaws, a lot of times I'll take them over to a air compressor, some sort of compressed air, kind of blow them dry a little bit, and I'll get them started sealing back together. Like I say, there's a seam right down that middle. It naturally comes apart. You need to get it clean in there anyway. But then whenever I go back to put it together, it just fits together like a nice little puzzle piece. I put some wood glue in there, matches the bone color real well. And then take a little rubber band, pinch it together right there at the tip, let it sit overnight and dry. Again with the teeth, those will fit back in as well. It goes smallest to largest from outside to in. And kind of counterintuitive, there's a little bit of a curve to each of these teeth, and the curve actually goes to the outside. But like I say, it's a little trial and error. Fit it together before you actually put some glue in there. But it's pretty simple. Like I say, from here, you can also take this and bleach it. People call it bleaching. You don't actually use bleach. It's actually a solution of hydrogen peroxide. Bleach will actually tear this skull up, so you don't want to use bleach. Please don't use all your effort and then dump it in there. Hydrogen peroxide, though, will give it a nice, really white color. A lot of times after I've done the hydrogen peroxide, it will eat away the bone a little bit. It'll kind of take off the outside smoothness of the bone. So I'll take a little bit of a finish, actually use Mop and Glow floor shine, and just paint that on real light with a paintbrush. It'll give it a little bit of a shine to it, and like I say, cover up that exposed bone, keep it looking white for a long time. Or, like I say, get in touch with a professional, have it hydro dipped. There's people out there that paint dip on their own. There's a lot of options from here. And again, when you go to display it, it can either be set out, you can put it on a wall mount, put it a pedestal mount. There's a lot of options, but like I say, it's always a good way to keep these memories from these hunts. You can live that hunt over and over again for the rest of your life.
We hope that you'll use this season to pass on your love for the outdoors to the next generation of Oklahoma sportsmen. And while you're at it, with a little luck, maybe you'll bring home a trophy that you can use your new European mounting skill set to work on. Hey, thanks for joining us today. For all of us at your Wildlife Department, I'm Todd Craighead. We'll see you right back here next time on Outdoor Oklahoma.